how important is it for democracy to get redistricting reform in North Carolina? Hold on. Okay. Did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours. And I'm going to ask you two more questions quick. So
Sure.
go ahead.
Ending gerrymandering is of foundational importance to restoring our democracy and giving people a genuine choice in the outcome of elections. When I first came to the state Senate, it was 2014. There are 50 members of the state Senate. There are 120 members of the House. You have a total of 170 members of the state legislature. At least 90% of us were totally invulnerable in a general election, at least 90%. And I think it's important to convey that so people get the scale of the problem. It's not as if this is putting a thumb on the scale. This is standing on the scale. It's the widespread rigging of elections. It's the most powerful form of voter suppression that you could possibly see in North Carolina. And it's overtly racist. The way that it works in practice is by ring fencing all of the Black communities across the state. There is no ethical defense for allowing this to continue. None at all. I've never even heard anyone try to offer an ethical defense.
Okay. Second thing is, what do you think the chances of getting the For the People Act passed that would force states to create citizens redistricting committees?
To me, the most important part of HR 1, the For the People Act, is that part you just referenced with respect to ending gerrymandering. I don't know if all of HR 1 can pass. It probably can't, but they should break it into pieces. And the most important piece is the piece that ends gerrymandering on the federal level. I think it would be absolutely inexcusable for this Congress, I should say this Senate, because it's already passed the House, to not take this opportunity and this obligation to end gerrymandering. There's no defense for not doing that. And I've heard Joe Manchin say some really troubling things about this. It would be a major disappointment and really demoralizing if we don't use this opportunity to end gerrymandering. When's it going to come again? Maybe the next decade, maybe not.
Yeah. So it would be disappointing and crushing if it didn't. But what do you think the odds really are then? Do you think with the in the Senate the way it is with a filibuster, are they going to do that? Are they going to hold it hostage and throw it out the door?
Well, I think there's a 100% chance of McConnell trying to use the filibuster against it. I think there's a 0% chance of getting 10 Republicans to support a bill that ends gerrymandering. Then the question is, what's the percent chance that Joe Manchin is going to say that that's not acceptable and reform the filibuster in a way that allows this to get a vote? From what he has said, that chance is very low. I mean, he said 2 weeks ago that under no circumstances will he consider any reform of the filibuster. So really the question is, what's the percent chance that he's going to double back on that?
Manchin said that was Manchin, or that was Manchin that said that, or McConnell said that?
It was Manchin who said that.
Okay. Okay.
Said under no circumstances. And I don't understand that position. That just throws the keys to Mitch McConnell on this and a whole bunch of other bills.
Okay. The last question I'm going to ask you is, do you think there could be bipartisan support in the legislature for mandating a more open and participatory process this year based on what was done in the court-ordered redrawings in 2019? I was going to add something to that, but I won't. I'll just leave it there. So you go ahead and respond to that part.
Well, on the state level in Raleigh, to their credit, there have been a number of Republicans in the House that have come out and said that they favor some version of independent redistricting. Chuck McGrady, who's no longer a representative, he just finished his last term, was a long-time strong proponent of that, and he was able to galvanize some support within his caucus for that. We haven't seen any public support on the Senate side. There's not going to be any reform of redistricting, the process of redistricting this year in North Carolina. It's not going to happen.
But Abbott, this question asks for more open participatory process by citizens, transparency. And I know that Berger and Moore have said, you know, they're going to do this in transparent fashion. And I think what the sense is by people that pay attention is that they're going to, they've said they're not going to move the primaries, and which is going to squeeze the time frame at the back end. And they may just come out and say, we're sorry, we ran out of time. We're doing this and we don't care what you think. This is what it's going to be. Okay.
I think that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to get the data in September, I think, early September, and then filing is in December. So we have between September and, I mean, last time filing was the first week of December. So you got a couple of months there to get the data, draw the maps, hold some meetings. That's a dog and pony show if ever there were one. I've seen no indication at this point of a genuine attempt to make this more transparent. None. I think they're using the fact that we're getting the census data late to their advantage, as you indicate.
Yeah. That was all I wanted to ask you. Is there anything you would want to tie those, your comments up with or not? It's okay if you don't.
The first bill I ever filed was to end gerrymandering. And they sent it to the Ways and Means Committee, which hasn't met in 20 years, in order to send a signal that the corruption would continue. And from what I see from the signals being sent now, that's their same stance. I don't think their position has changed at all. The only real hope we have is that the courts have shown willingness to get involved. And so the real check on the redistricting process and the gerrymandering this time around is how much litigation risk they're willing to take. And none of us knows the answer to that. Are they willing to put the pedal all the way down and risk the court throwing it out and drawing the map themselves or appointing a special master? I don't know how much risk they're willing to take. But the only real check on this at this point is the litigation risk.
And of course, we know that the justice system in North Carolina has changed in that regard with Paul Newby's election as the Chief Justice. And he's the one that picks the 3 judge panels